Music! Alright. Woo! So, I guess it's best not to wait for Halloween to do this gnarly pumpkin beer here from Brooklyn brand. And it's that time of year, so I think I'm hoping this is going to be good because I had the Oktoberfest from Brooklyn brand, which was probably got to be one of my favorite Oktoberfests so far. And this is the Post Road Pumpkin Ale at 5%. From Brooklyn, New York, the Brooklyn brand, alright? So they're claiming that they got actual pumpkin in this pumpkin beer. As you can see, it's kind of the lighter colored one. It's the hopefully going to be the orange one. Because I had one pumpkin beer this year, and it was pretty badass. So I got high expectations for my pumpkin beers from now on. Which is a good thing. Because there's a lot of stigma around the pumpkin beers, you know what I'm saying? Alright. Alright. So apparently, I think this was quite an expensive beer. I got it in Build Your Own 6-pack from the liquor store, Andrew Hilton there in town that does that. Alright. It's a great color. It's a little bit light, actually. I was expecting a slight bit darker out of it. I'm getting a lot of spices there, so almost a little bit of mosquito spray. There's the odd beer, you know, I get mosquito spray out of it. Sorry, you know. Doesn't mean it's going to taste bad. That's just the combination of some of the spices with that pumpkin. I am smelling a bit of pumpkin. I'm smelling a certain spice that's overriding the rest of the spices. The head is not... It's looking like it's going to be okay, but it is quite minimal. Lots of carbonation in the body of the beer. Well, let's try this. Yeah, I believe this was a $20 6-pack. I saw on DJ's BrewTube there. Did this one. And the aftertaste is quite nice in this one, but yeah. And yeah, the aftertaste is great in this one, actually, but the beginnings, I would say I wouldn't want to pay any more than $14 for this, for a 6-pack, and that's up here, right? Like in the States, I don't know, that would even be a bit much. But I mean, their Oktoberfest is amazing, so it's very drinkable. Nothing too fancy, it's just very, very well balanced and drinkable. I really enjoyed that beer a lot. And this one is good as well. Like, there's nothing wrong with this beer. It's definitely got a unique flavor from what I've tasted. It's a little more spice forward, and the pumpkin is a little bit bitter. Like, that might be having something to do with the hops in here and stuff. So it's very clean tasting, very watery, listening, very quite filtered actually. And you know, I'm kind of getting hop bitterness with mixed with the spices, so it's a slight clash there, a little bit of a tang spot, we'll say, and then but the finish is really nice. Like, you're tasting this beer a ways after you set it down, you're still tasting it. So it's a beer you can savor. I let it warm up a little bit. Like, my fridge is kind of cold right now, so I've had this out for probably close to about half an hour probably. And so, yeah, it's warmed up about as much as you probably want to warm this up. I'm sure glad that I didn't have to pay a whole lot of money for this beer. It was a typical price of the build your own 6-pack here, which is not a bad deal considering some of the beers that you can throw in there. Especially when you get ones like this in there, because I really wanted to try this one. I was surprised to see it, but not exactly, because the same store carries the Oktoberfest, right? Yeah, it's a little bit frothy, a little bit foamy, a little bit weak, a little bit not weak, a little bit too runny. It's not viscous enough. Could be a little bit heavier, a little bit creamier of a pumpkin ale. Like I did the Elijah Night Owl pumpkin ale, which I think blows this out of the water. I mean, just fucking. If this Post Road pumpkin ale got in a gunfight with Elijah's Night Owl pumpkin ale, Post Road Pumpkin would bring a cap gun, and Elijah's Night Owl would bring a fucking rocket launcher. That's the kind of comparison we're talking about here. Okay. Yeah, it's not that good. I mean, it's good enough. It's not really offensive. It's just tasting watery, a bit weak. The spices and the hops and the pumpkin aren't balancing the way I would expect, and it could be creamier. It just could be a little bit more baked pumpkin. You know what I mean? Not just pumpkin. I mean, maybe I'm expecting like pumpkin pie type warmness, thick, creamy, nice spice, with a little bit of spice, but just a great pumpkin flavor and a little bit heavier. And this is just a little bit thin, a little bit spicy, a little bit of an edge on it, a little bit of edge with the hops, a little bit ruddy. It's not all that bad, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to pay more than $2.20 a bottle for this. You know, or whatever. I mean, I wouldn't want to, really get up any higher than a $14 6-pack, which is about as low as your craft beer sixers go for up here. So, all right. As for rate, I say, like, because of the price and that, I'm gonna have to maybe drop it down a whole point on that one. But I mean, as for the beer, maybe I'll ignore price. I'm just gonna ignore price. I'm just gonna rate this as beer, and I would say it's not quite an 8 for me. It's about a 7 3/4 out of 11, and that's kind of just a little bit under for me to get excited about. It's just kind of like meh, So yeah, you may want to not get this pumpkin beer, but I definitely highly recommend their Oktoberfest. I'm not gonna shit talk them too much. Like, I just hope next year they brew a better pumpkin beer, or maybe this one's something that they feel obligated to brew because maybe they've done it for a while. But I mean, if I was them, I'd maybe adjust this beer or something, because like I said, there's a lot of bad pumpkin beers out there from what I hear. So this is probably pretty good for a pumpkin beer. Like, you could probably do a lot worse. So at least you're safe. Berserker, and I'm out! Yeah!